let's get started. So can somebody read for me the title that's here?
Meditation by the book.
What?
Meditation by the book.
Meditation, I should have put ... by the book. Capital B, all right? Now, if anybody here has read the Quran before, you know that they call the Yahudim, or the Israelites, the people of the book, all right? Of the children of Israel, right? So when it comes to meditation, how is it prescribed by the book? Because a lot of times, you know, you get medication from the doctor, and you get that via prescription, right? Because you get to know what your diagnosis is, what your prognosis is, and a prognosis is based on the prescription that he gives you in order to alleviate the pathogenesis or the pathology of the actual disease or pathogen that's affecting you, afflicting you. You might get antibiotics, or if you get diabetes, you might get metformin, right? Or if you have cancer, you may get chemotherapy, all right? So a lot of times we had to understand that there's a thing called pharmacogenetics. Anybody know what pharmacogenetics is? Pharmacogenetics. Okay, she's really, really warm. All right, so pharmacogenetics is a form of pharmacology in which they tailor medication to your specific genetic makeup. That means it will only work for you, and it won't work for nobody else. Or it may just work for your family, but it won't work for nobody else. And if you decide to take a pharmacogenetic drug that has been prescribed for somebody else, outside of your family, outside of you, of another group, it will not work. You can convince yourself that it works as if it's a placebo, but it's not going to do anything internally. Now, why am I saying this? What does any of this have to do with what we're talking about? Okay, we're about to get in it. So let's go. All right. First things first, I must predispose you with this understanding before we venture onto the path and get to our destination. So the first thing I need you to understand is cultural reorientation. What sign is this? A U-turn. U-turn, okay. So cultural reorientation, and I just created a definition based off of a template definition, is the act of changing the perspective or the direction or redirecting of one's current culture back to its original ancestral state. So today we have been given a culture. And that culture we've been given today is part of a matrix. What happened? What happened? Oh, okay. I appreciate it. All right. So, being that it's part of a cultural matrix, we have been given a culture, and we've been told that this is for you. A lot of times we have not done thorough investigation to determine the provenance of where that culture has come from, all the elements and components that make up the culture that we assume to be ours and we consume to be right and exact and something that we should adorn. But what I've done through my research is I've discovered that the current cultural matrix that we are living in is not ours. It is not for us. If we make the claim that we are the people of the book. Okay, Khan? Anybody disagree with that? If so, we can take it outside. But right now, I need to finish this lecture. All right? So what we must do is we must take steps to reorient ourselves back to the ancestral state of the culture that was designed for us, so that way we can get the most results. And the way that it was intended by those who have crafted it for us to preserve us in the midst of a captive situation. So that way, even as being behind enemy lines, or prisoners of war, or however you want to state it, that we've been given a method to ensure that we continue to live on. One thing that Yah said about his statutes, laws, and commandments is that it's designed to give you longevity of life if you keep it. So we wonder why we're dying early, prematurely, out here in this world. Is because we have not taken the right prescription. Therefore, we don't have the proper medication to ensure longevity. Okay, kind? So, the purpose of these lectures is to reorient you back to that original ancestral state, so that way you can absorb that which has been passed down just for you. and apply it and yield the most results. All right? All right, so 3 steps towards cultural reorientation. I tried to simplify it as much as I can. All right? So the first thing is awareness. You have to be aware of the current cultural matrix. If you're not aware of the current cultural matrix, there's not going to be no change. So when we watched the movie The Matrix, there were people that were in the Matrix that had to go to Neo to let him know what was really going on. Because if they had not done that, then all of those glitches in the Matrix that Neo was realizing was going on, he would not have been able to place his finger on what actually was taking place. So the first thing is awareness. So those of us who are awake, our job is to make others equally aware. And everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses and their own approach on how they do that. But that is the first step, because for us, it took awareness. So once we are aware of these glitches in the matrix and some things are not right, then we go through the process of re-education. Through the process of re-education, we are analyzing our current cultural paradigm, and we're seeing that there are issues, that there are flaws, that there are mishaps, and we have to ask ourselves, why? Why is this not just working out for us? Why do I see this current condition happening in my community? Why? And then through re-education, we discover prescriptions in order to resolve the issue. Now, through the re-education process, once we have that down pat, the next step is what? Application. What good is it knowing who we are, what state we're in, and what to do if you're not even doing it? What good is that? Okay? So that's why I like to talk about the K-chain model, which is culture, community, and autonomy. Autonomy is the end state, which means more you learn and the more you apply, the more autonomous or self-governing you will be over your own affairs, and you won't have to seek outside of self or your community to get the things that you need to thrive in this environment. Okay, Khan? Okay. Next slide. What is meditation? Now, this is where I get to engage everybody here. Everybody gets to be, I guess I was thinking about the Wheel of Fortune, but everybody gets to be contested now. So, question is, what is meditation? This is part of the cultural reorientation process. So anybody raise your hand, please. I need somebody, otherwise I cannot move forward. Somebody please volunteer and tell me what is meditation.
Mr. Hebrew.
Now leave him out of it. He's a guest. Anybody that's been here, what is your definition of meditation that comes to mind?
Being quiet.
Being quiet, stillness, okay.
Intimate conversation with Yah.
Intimate conversation with Yah. Wow, that's interesting, okay.
Thinking or pondering on something over and over.
Thinking or pondering on something over and over. Anything else?
The
Bible, the word, the Hebrew word, I don't remember what it is.
Don't give me the Hebrew word.
But
Let me do this. Give me the secular definition of meditation. There we go. Oh, okay. Because I know you on it.
No, I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah.
But in addition to thinking about it repeatedly, it's to also murmur.
Okay.
Speak it.
Gotcha.
Repeatedly.
Gotcha. Like a chant or something like that too, right? So people equal that to a chant. Okay. Anybody else? I meant to preface it and say, give me the secular definition of meditation. Because some of y'all stood up in here. All right? Don't mess up my PowerPoint presentation. All right, that's it?
Yeah. Be still.
Be still. So we got stillness, right?
Focus your mind on something.
Focus your mind on something. That's it?
The secular Eastern definition is actually to rid the mind of thought.
To rid the mind of thought.
Empty.
To empty. Got it. Now, this is what I want to say. Secular definition, if I'm just going on secular definition, because I didn't put it here because I don't have the transitions, would be what you see this person doing right here, right? So you typically may dress in all white, some people do, which is representative of being purified, clean, cleanliness, right? You'll sit down, you fold your legs like that, you put your hands up like that, right? This is the new age secular realm. This is what meditation is. You do breathing exercises so that you can relax yourself, put yourself in a still state of mind, and either focus on something or allow something to come to you. Khan? Yes? Are you familiar with this is how it's done in the secular realm? All right, so the question is that method for us? And if it's, well, hold on, man, look at y'all. And if it's not for us, then how can we do this? I'm not saying this is wrong. You're going to see how I like to be very careful and tactful when I say things. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just saying that this may not be for us. But let's see. Let's look into it. What is Taoism? Anybody? I mean, y'all see that here, but what is Taoism? So this is why lectures like this is important, because if you're not introduced to the provenance of things or the origin of things, then you're going to assume that what you're doing is true because you have not challenged the question based on some authority that has passed it down to you. And this can happen with anything, religious dogma, doctrines, teaching, understanding, or how you approach things, etc., etc. All right? And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. My parents, when they raised me, their thing was go to school, get good grades, graduate, go to college, get a good job, get a family, etc. Right? Nothing there about getting a trade, nothing there about entrepreneurship, nothing there about exploring your culture, nothing about any of this. And that's not a fault of my parents. They just did the best that they could. Now that I come along, I got to do better than them for my children in anticipation that they do even greater than me. But before we can do that, we have to ask certain questions. Okay, Khan? So let's see what Taoism is. Taoism or Taoism is a religious or philosophical tradition of Chinese origin which emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao. The Tao is a fundamental idea in most Chinese philosophical schools. In Taoism, however, it denotes the principle that is the source, pattern, and substance of everything that exists. It's almost like pantheism. You know what pantheism means? Pan means all or cross. Theism means God. That means everything is God. Right? That's pantheism. And in here, it's saying Tao, which is the central governing guiding force, which is almost similar to what we hear the word Qi, is where everything is existing. So in Taoism, the objective is to be in harmony and balance with that, and to be able to take that Tao state and embed it into yourself, and staying in harmony with the environment around you. Now that sounds like great principles. Kane Khan? I'm not saying nothing is bad about that, or it's dysfunctional, according to the cultural Israelite definition of the word bad. But what I'm saying is this was created by a different group of people. Kane Khan? And if you go back and you research if you research it further, you'll see when it started. If it's believed to have started about 600 to 400 BCE. All right? Now, if you look at the Israelite chronological timeline, from 600 to 400 BCE, where were the Israelites? So the southern tribes was in captivity, northern tribes were dispersed. Kane Khan? So there was no way that we was interfacing with this, because this is all the way where? In China. So this would have been alien to the authors of the text. Kane Khan? So we assume today that when we do this, we see that word in the text, that's what it means. That's not what the text is saying. Hence why you have to go through the cultural reorientation process. Kane Khan? I know when I started my job, and even jobs in the past, when you go there for your interview, you bring your application, right? And then you got to sell yourself or offer yourselves for sale. Deborah ring 2868. Offer yourself for sale so that you can be hired, so you can get the wages that you need in order to sustain yourself and your family. But when you go to this job, you have a previous past of experience. And when you go in there, you're trying to find some way to leverage that to your new role. But then sometimes you find out after you get through the interview, you get hired, now it's the orientation process. Orientation. They're not going to reorient you back to what you was doing. They're going to orient you back to something else. So this cultural paradigm is orienting us towards a particular direction that was not intended for us by our ancestors. You got it? Okay. So with that being in mind, you go to this new job and you say, wait a second, I got these skills. I can say I can use it here, but wait, things are a bit different. Things are different. But if you're working there for so long, after a while, it becomes second nature and you don't even think about your past experience. It's deep. Some of y'all gonna get it. If you'll follow me. So once we see the root of this, which is, or the shoresh, which in Hebrew means the root, what is Taoism? What is Taoist meditation? The right practices for the wrong culture. You said that you're Israelites, so why are you doing this? Not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, if you say you're an Israelite, You follow statute, laws, and commandments. And why are you doing this? Just asking. Taoist meditation, also spelled Taoist, because that's how, when you hear pronunciation in regards to Mandarin Chinese, that's how they say the T sound, Tao, Taoist, refers to the traditional meditative practices associated with the Chinese philosophy and religion of Taoism, including concentration, mindfulness, contemplation, and visualization. Did you see what this says? The Chinese philosophy and religion of Taoism. So you're practicing somebody else's religion and you're saying it's Israelite. Wow. That's deep. Now you're looking at the timeline. Now you're looking at the problems of origin of what meditation is sold to us today in the secular realm. When I just told you chronologically it's impossible, there was no form of acculturation or migration back and forth at that point. From 600 BCE to 400 BCE, the Israelites, this would have been foreign to them. But yet you're saying when you look at meditation, that's what they're doing in the text. Now, let's reorient you. So now you get what this is. See how simple it is? See, I try to make this PowerPoint very simple. Not a lot of information on it, right? But you can follow, correct? You go back and do your research. Just move forward. So what's the biblical Hebrew definition of meditation? So if that's Taoism, and that's from another religion, another philosophical paradigm, that would have been foreign to the authors of the text, or the people's book, children of Israel, then what is the biblical Hebrew definition of meditation? That is extremely important. So, I know a couple people here may be aware of it already. Don't spoil it. We're going to get through it. All right? So, let's go ahead and see what's going on here. All right? So, the first word we have there is Haggah. We got a Hey, a Kamet, a Gimel, a Kamet, and a Hey. And this is a primitive root to murmur. You heard somebody say that, right? And pleasure or anger. Wow, that's deep. By implication, to ponder. You said that, right? That was there. Imagine, meditate, mourn, mutter, roar, soar, speak, study, talk, or utter. And in Hebrew, you have 7 major verb stems, or benyamin, right? And we have the cow. Well, the poal is not one of the major 7, but the cow, the poal, and the hefo. So when you go into a Hebrew lexicon and you come across a word, it won't have this here, it'll just have this. And you look up that word, it'll tell you the various verb stems in which it is used, which means you can't go and just pick which one you want to explain what the text is saying. You have to read the Hebrew and see how the verb is conjugated in order to understand which one of these verb stems that the actual text is being explicitly upfront about. Okay, Khan? So we look in the cow stem, which is simple active voice, to roar, growl, groan, B, to utter, speak, C, to meditate, devise, muse. Imagine, as you can see, I have something in blue. Second definition in the poal verb stem is just to utter, and in the hefo stem it means to mutter. That's interesting. That's interesting. It looks slightly different than what we just read earlier. Okay, let's keep going. Siyak or siyak. We're going to get into what this is right here. That's why I have the asterisk there, but let's go through this. It's a primitive root. That means you can't break it down any further, right? This is your trilateral root. Can't get down no further. A primitive root, to ponder, i.e. by implication, converse with oneself. Wait, hold on. So people tell you talk to yourself, you're crazy. I know I heard that. Sometimes I talk to myself. Not because I'm crazy. It's because I'm doing this. But people don't understand. Because they have not researched. They say, man, you crazy. What you doing talking to yourself? I'm meditating. You meditated. Supposed to be quiet, supposed to be still. Now, let me show you what this means in Scripture. Oh, that's interesting. But then it says, with oneself and hence aloud. Wow. So there's some form of it being audible enough for it to be receptive to the inner ear. That's interesting. Because that's not what I saw earlier. Okay, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying, if you're saying you're an Israelite and you're going by the book, that's what the book is saying. Or transitively utter, commune, complain. Wait, You say I'm supposed to be still, empty my mind, but it says complain. Wow, that's interesting. Declare, meditate, muse, pray. Whoa. Wow, that's deep. Pray. So meditation is a form of prayer? Interesting. Speak, talk, with. We have the first definition in the cow stem. A, to complain. B, to muse. Meditate upon, study, ponder. C, to talk, sing, or speak. Sing? Sing? What? What's going on here? Okay. And a polar stem, it means to meditate, consider, put forth thoughts. Interesting. So what we have here is a little feature in biblical classical Hebrew called the Furtive Attack. Does anybody know what the Furtive Attack is? Raise your hand. That's one. That's it? Nobody else know what the Furtive Attack is? Has to do with phonology in Hebrew. So I put it here to help you all out. When a word ends in a hit, ayin, or mapik, which is a dotted heading, you'll see that in Psalm 68 and 4. When they give you the name for Yah there, there's a mapik there, in the dagesh in the middle of the head, and has a patak vowel. Patak is what? Elongated or shortened form of the ak sound. Thank you, shortened form. You first pronounce the vowel, then the consonant. Now wait, slow down. Anybody who's familiar with the grammatical rules and the phonology of biblical Hebrew, what is the right order and what's the pronunciate a word? Consonant, vowel, consonant, maybe vowel, right? Or consonant, vowel, consonant. Can, con? But now we have a very unique situation with the Furtive Attack. Exception, there we go. Exception. But with the Furtive Attack, in this case, now we see siyak. And this is interesting because we have the shin, we have the what? Hirik, the yod, the hit. And there's a what? Patak under the hit. How is that possible when, if we're looking at CBC, it's supposed to end with hit, and this should obviously should be under the yod, if we're just looking at it from standard orthodox grammatical rules. But in the Furtive Attack, just like in the word ruach, you know that word ruach? Okay. It also has a Furtive Attack, which means you pronounce this, right? The ak, this right here, and the hit. And when you first pronounce the vowel, then the consonant, right? The ak. And then the accent falls under the preceding syllable. So in here we have C, so that means the accent or the attenuated pronunciation would be over the yod, where you put emphasis on this syllable, the C. So that means you put more emphasis on this, lower emphasis on the patach. And as you get into learning Hebrew, you'll understand these features. I just thought I bring it out because it's there. And if people who know Hebrew, maybe not familiar with the Furtive Attack, and say, wait, why does that look like that? It's interesting. Because if you see the Hagah, you don't see nothing under the head. There's no vowel pointing or diacritic mark under the head. Can, con? It's a little nugget for you to go back to research. But the Furtive Attack is being shown here as a feature of this word siyak. Or siyak. All right? Now, let's move forward. All right, now, to get a little bit deeper with it, which is important, because what you should do is not stop at a Strong's Concordance. It's good for people who are doing elementary study, but if you're going deep into the word, you should have used at least 3 different lexicons. All right? 2 of them you can get for free. One of them that I use is via software only. But what the purpose of it is getting 2 or 3 witnesses in order for you to best ascertain the application of the word within the context. Can, con? So this word Hagah means to murmur, to mutter, to growl. And it says almost the same meaning as Hama, use of the growl of a lion over his prey. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, and it gives you the various places where it is. You see in Isaiah 31:4, of blow thunder, Job 37:2, of muttering, of enchanters, see the he feel stem. So look, you hear people say, when you hear that word mutter, in the Bible, so anybody bring up their phone, bring up the dictionary for me real quick. Let me just define some of these words so y'all are following along. You hear people talk about those who murmur, who mutter. And they say, well, when you hear somebody say they're muttering, that's what enchanters do. And I said, wait, slow down for a second. Let's go into Hebrew grammar. In Hebrew grammar, you have what's called the he feel stem. What is the he feel stem? Causative. that means the action is not being directly done by the subject, or it is, but the subject is being influenced to do the action. It's not coming from within himself. You following me? You have your count stem, which is a simple active voice, simple action, the PL stem, which is the intensive. And again, the subject is the direct individual or item or component that's actually commencing the action, but in the he flow stem, something is causing that subject to do it. And if you look at how the murmuring occurred with the Chaldean priests, or the Kohanim, that the Israelites kept going to when things would happen as a result of their deity punishing them, they would go to these people who would be enchanters, who would be caused to mutter because they would be under the influence of another power. Most High says not to do that. Okay, Khan? This is why learning the Hebrew is interesting and important and necessary to properly define what's going on. Okay? Of the sound of a harp when struck. Interesting. Psalm 9:17, 92:4. Of the cooing of doves. Isaiah 38:14. Of the groaning and sighing of men. Isaiah 16:7, Jeremiah 48:31. Poetically to speak. Absolutely to utter sound. Psalm 115:7. With an accusative of the thing, we go to see Job 27:4, Psalm 37:30, etc. Hence to sing, to celebrate, like to say, Amar. Psalm 35:28. My tongue shall celebrate thy righteousness. Psalm 71:24. Now we get to 3, which is to meditate. Properly to speak with oneself, murmuring and in a low voice, as is often done by those who are musing. Wow. You're about to learn something deep here. I know it's taking some time to absorb it because, again, this is the reorientation process. But when you start to go into this thing, you'll say, wait a second. Are you telling me I wasn't meditating properly? That's why I didn't get the results I was looking for. For some people, maybe the other stuff may work for you. But a lot of people say, listen, I try to meditate, it ain't working. Well, maybe you're not taking the biblical prescription on how to do it. Okay, so follow me. So now this is interesting, right? It goes on and says to meditate on anything. And it goes into Joshua 1 and 8, which we won't get into, Psalm 1 and 2, 67, 63 and 7, 77, 13, and I will meditate on all thy works. We're going to get into that. Because now this is looking starkly different in contrast to Taoism and Taoist meditation. Why was we given Taoist meditation? And if you're studying anything about the 60s and 70s, you know about the Hare Krishna movement. How many of y'all know about the Hare Krishna movement? Raise your hand. What that was doing was introducing Eastern mysticism into the Western world. And it was considered a cult. Y'all know about the Hare Krishna? You heard about that cult, that group? Okay. But that all happened to a transition. The purpose of that is to deviate you away from your culture. Because as long as you stick to your culture, you cannot be subordinated coercively through all of the devices that's being used by the society to guide you along to their agenda. Your culture protects you. But if they can introduce other elements into your culture, and after a while, it ain't your culture no more. That's what happened to us. They put us through a deprogramming process when they brought us here. They had to get rid of our culture. We still kept vestiges of it, but for the most part, the bulk of it was taken away from us. And over time, even after we got emancipated, we were still being indoctrinated with a whole bunch of other stuff. This is that whole lifelong process thing. I'm not nowhere near done. But wherever I'm at, I'm giving the baton to y'all so y'all can also run, right? So let's get over to the next one. Siyah, a shin, a yod, and a hit. All right? To produce. To bring forth. To put forth. To germinate in the city at. To germinate, to flourish. To put forth shoots, buds. To dare. To lift oneself up. In Hebrew, to speak. To utter with the mouth. Compared to Amar again. Followed by the lamed, or this was called the inseparable preposition. To speak with to anyone, Job 12 and 8, with. Wait. To speak to anyone. Wait, so you can meditate with somebody else there? Oh, this is deep. Ain't nobody teach me this before. I thought I'd be by myself in a closet somewhere, right? Dressed in white with the light on, sitting down with my legs crossed and like, that's what I thought. Okay, just a little different kind of prescription here. All right, but suffix, Proverbs 6 and 22, you have the kaf, final kaf, with the comments, which means your in Hebrew, right? He shall speak with thee or speak with you, followed by the bet, the inseparable preposition bet, to speak of any one, Psalm 69:13, to sing, followed by to celebrate anything in song, and in a bad sense, to lament, to complain. So you telling me if I'm meditating, somebody tell me I gotta clear my mind, but it says I can complain. That's part of meditation. We're wondering why we're not able to purge properly, because we're taking the wrong drug. We got the wrong prescription. It may work for somebody else, another group, but that was not prescribed for us. Are y'all ready? You want to keep going? Y'all okay? Y'all all right? All right, let's go. All right, to talk with oneself, to meditate, especially on divine things. Interesting. And the P-Love stem to meditate, and gives you some to think upon anything. All right, so now, the thing that I like here is this right here. This right here sums it up. It just messed my whole lecture up, but we're going to get to it. Properly to speak with oneself, murmuring in a low voice, as is often done by those who are musing. And when you connect that with, especially on divine things, that can also involve another party, that can also include a song or singing, or celebrating or complaining, now we got a real state of mind and how to properly purge yourself in order for you to understand the statute, laws, commandments, and the greatness of Yah. You'll see all of this demonstrated in Tehillim, or the Psalms. But let's get into it. Let's move on. Next slide says what? My bad. My bad. That can mean anything in the scope of this lecture, right? But read what it says there in the subtitle. Somebody say that loud. Well, the scribe's perfect. Now, before we move on, who got their phone with the dictionary? I asked somebody to get the dictionary on your phone. Can somebody just grab your phone and give me the dictionary? Anybody? All right, you got dictionary? All right, please look up the word muse. M-U-S-E. Yes, and I want the verb definition, not the noun. We're using words. I want to make sure they're defined within the context of what's being spoken so people can understand what's going on. Those of you, go ahead, the verb.
Third person present muse. Be absorbed in thought.
Be absorbed in thought. Anything else?
We are musing on a problem.
Musing on a problem within context in the sentence.
Ponder, consider.
Ponder what? Consider. Think.
Contemplate.
Contemplate. So wait. So this is active. When we looked at the other philosophy, it's passive. Okay, we're going to get into that. So look up the word murmur. And then somebody else get the word mutter. And then we're going to move forward. You got mutter? Okay, read mutter. What does mutter mean? Yeah.
Say something in a low or barely audible voice.
Say something in a low or what?
Barely audible.
Barely audible voice. What else?
Especially in dissatisfaction.
Wait. Especially in dissatisfaction. Keep going.
Or irritation.
Or irritation. Is that mutter or murmur?
That was mutter.
Mutter. Okay, somebody got murmur? Same thing or similar, right?
Yeah.
All right, read it.
Say something in a low, soft, or indistinct voice. Say something cautiously and discreetly.
Cautiously and discreetly. Keep going.
Express one's discontent about in a subdued manner.
Express your discontent in what? A subdued matter. A lot of you ain't got the meaning in here, so you do things incorrectly and wonder why you're not getting the results that you're looking for. Definitions are telling you what it is. So going here, I got my bad. Well, the scribe's perfect. You're gonna be like, what does this have to do with anything? So what we're doing is we're defining that word meditation in various places in which meditation is being used. So there's something that I found that was very peculiar that I want to bring out and show to you so you can understand this, because the better equipped you are with this information, the less somebody can attack you. The more you'll be prepared. Okay, Khan? This is called The Reality of Copyist Errors, right? By B. Thompson and E. Lyons. Now, this might have been identified by another textual critic of the Hebrew Tanakh. I like Emmanuel Toe's work, right? I haven't really seen if he had brought this up. He probably did. But what I've done is I've identified during the research of understanding what meditation is that something looked kind of weird. I'm going to show y'all. So this says humans are prone to make mistakes regardless of the care that they take or the strictness of the rules under which they operate. The copyist task was made all the more difficult by the sheer complexity of the Hebrew language and by various ways in which potential errors can be introduced, even inadvertently, into the copying process. There are at least 7 important ways in which a copyist might change the text accidentally, including such actions as A. Omissions of letters, words, or whole lines. B. Unwarranted repetitions, and you know repetition is a feature of classical Hebrew, and you'll see that in Proverbs, you'll see that in Psalms, and etc., right? C. Transposition, the reversal of 2 letters or words. D. Errors of memory. E. Errors of the ear. F. Errors of the eye. And G. Errors of judgment. Norman Geisler Nix spoke about that in a work in 1986, pages 469, 473. Such errors, especially before the Masoretes came on the scene, could account for the alleged discrepancies in various parts of the Bible. Anybody that does textual criticism, you'll know that the form that we have today was called the Masoretic text. It didn't always have the Nikud or Nikudot or the diacritics marks in it. And through textual criticism being compared with other manuscripts, we have found proto-versions of the Masoretic text, which means that the text later by the Masoretes have added the Tabarian vocalization system to the actual text itself to preserve their vocalization system. But it also helps those who are foreign to the text understand grammar and other things as well. So by the time they got it and they're copying it, there was something in the text that looked very strange. They didn't change it, they left it. But when I do textual criticism, I understand that those little nuances have to be addressed. Like, what is this? In case somebody brings it up to me. So there's another word for meditation. It's called suach. And there again is what? What do we see there? What's that called? The Furtive Attack, right? And that's a primitive root to muse pensively. Do you know what pensive means? Somebody bring the definition real quick. It's an account stem because it's only used one time. To meditate, muse, commune, speak, complain. But look at this. The meaning is uncertain. Now, why is the meaning uncertain? But yet the other 2 definitions is certain. It's interesting. It looks extremely familiar to one of those other words that we saw earlier. Takkanah. But what's the difference? Let's see if y'all been paid attention to the lecture already. What's the difference? The previous one had a yod, and this has a what? A wow. A wow. Interesting. So you're telling me that we can't find no other cognates like this in any other Semitic languages, number 1. But number 2, we see something that is similar, and it has cognates. Interesting. So what I've identified this as a copyist error. And you'll have that, like, you know, in Matthew, Yeshua Bar Yosef says, jot tittle of the law. And then we go into the circles of Midrash, we see that we also have jots and tittles as well, indicating small or long things, but things that are pretty much similar like the yod and the wav. So you can think about it, looking at the manuscripts, how a copyist will go over the text and through a stroke of his pen, change the whole consonant. And then going forward, nobody questions it, and it's accepted. Until later on, scholarship decides we're going to examine this and see what's going on. Now, what's interesting is you have something also similar with other consonants. Because in Hebrew, you have a lot of similar looking consonants. One of them is the resh and the dalet. Do they look similar? They do. Now, what's interesting, go back and research it. You also have a personal name. You have Rodanim and Dodanim. When you go into the text, you be like, wait a second. Dodanim here, Rodanim there. It just seems weird, but it's still not the same thing. Why? Because of a copyist error. It's not, oh, the Bible's fake, throw it out the window, burn it, destroy it. You see these features in a lot of other manuscripts as well, not just the text. Can Khan? All right, but look, watch this. When we go to the lexicon, the Gezeirah Hebrew Chaldean lexicon, it says it's found one time. We're going to go into that. All right, so it's saying, look, since we find it one time, it may be similar to another word, siach. It has to be similar because we don't find it nowhere else. And then the Semitic languages that we have done an analysis on. So it has to be related to something, and it could be attributed to a copyist error as the reason why we find it in the situation that it is right now. With his friends, his tents, this has to do with, we're gonna read it, but Yitzchak or Isaac. With his friends and with servants and herds in the field, compared to siach again, and this appears to be preferable, because you can't find it nowhere else. So it looks, they give you the Arabic and the Syriac, and they even give you the Vulgate because they're trying to find other things that are similar because they don't know what the root is. To wander, especially on account of religion, but this signification appears to be secondary, derived from that of chanting and pious meditation. All they have to do is say, listen, it's a copyist error. It's the same as siach, and the most probable explanation is that a scribe just made the line too long. Very simple. So you're learning a lot just going through this. All right? Now let's go to Bereshit 24:63. I know this looks like Hebrew. Some of us can read it, some of us can't. But let's go into it. We got Vai, Yetz, Ye, Yetz, then we have Yitz, Hak. You know this means what? Isaac, right? Look at this. La, the preposition to Suach. So now, if I was looking at this, and what I wanted to do was, I didn't get to do it, was put the same thing, but change the Wav and the Yod, and see if anybody noticed the difference. Right? But here we see here Suach right here, and we see that we have the Wav here. And this is the only instance in the text that we see this here. But everywhere else we see this, it looks different. And this is why learning language is important, because you can be able to explain these things and let people know that we don't have to throw the whole book out. Oh, I don't know what just happened. All right, next slide. Your voice is music to my ears. Melodies now included. Are you following? All right, so the instance that we just saw, which is Bereshit chapter 24, verse 63. And if you'll read Bereshit chapter 24, you know it's about what? What is the summary of that chapter? If anybody knows what that's about. Rebecca being prepared to be a bride to who? Isaac, because Abraham's servant, he told, I don't want you to get any Canaanites. I don't want to marry any Canaanites. Keep it within the family. He told him to go to where?
Go to his land.
To who? Nahor. Nahor's land. Who's Nahor? Nahor, yes. And who is Abraham's nephew? Lot, right? Okay, so Abraham is getting old, about to die, takes his servant. Listen, I don't want my son, this is called arranged marriage. I don't want my son marrying any Canaanites. I want him to go into the land in which we traveled from and get somebody from there. So the servant goes there and says, prays about it and says, okay, this is the prescription. If I find a woman who gives me something to drink and my camel something to drink while we're waiting here and she does it in this format, I know that's the one. And then once that happens, he goes to the father and tells the father, listen, this is the situation that's been going on. You know, my master, who is, my Adonai is Abraham, had told me to go do this thing. I prayed about it. Rebecca did everything. And I'm asking, can we take her to be married to Isaac? And look, watch how the father handled it. The father said, all right, go ahead, take her. Get out of here. He said, ask her. Did you hear that? Wait, let's go back over this again. The father, you can go back and read it. I ain't making this up. The father went and said, wait, let's ask her first. Do you want to go? Are y'all understanding? Yeah. So when you're talking about arranged marriages, it's a process. And she said, yeah, I'll go. So then that's when they brought her, and while they were leaving and coming back, you had Isaac that was meditating in the field while he was working. And through the process of meditation, his prayer got answered. And here comes this beautiful woman. It's like, oh, that's me. It's interesting, took her in the tent. He said he took her and they became married, right? But the reason why I'm bringing this part is because there was no music involved when he was doing that. So if we're looking at it as far as anthropologically speaking, the development of this ethnogenetic group of people, we see that initially it was done without music. But then later on, that meditation, that musing over your murmurs, now got adapted to melodies. That's very important. Why? Why is it adapted to a song? You know what cancellation marks is in the text? Raise your hand. Anybody? Yes. All right. What's the cancellation mark?
It's mark is to tell you how to sing the Torah.
How to sing the Torah, especially the Psalms. Say Helene, correct? All right. So the reason why that's important, because now we see when we get to a monarchy scene and the king is involved and now he's meditating, he's doing things to music or things that can be composed into a song. Well, why is that? The Most High spoke to Moshe before they left to go into the promised land and said to Moshe, these people are stiff-necked and hard-headed. I gave them the statute, laws, and commandments. This whole 40 years they ain't been listening. But what I want you to do, Moses, so that they remember, is to take this and put it in a song. So that they can remember all that Yah has done for them. Song is very, very easy to remember as opposed to a book. You can sum up a whole situation in a song. And when you put it to melody, then it starts to work its way into the mind. It gets etched into your brain, and it's easier for you to recite. You know why? Because your ear is extremely, extremely important. When you hear Shema, it literally means to guard, but we say it also means to hear. That means you're hearing information with the intent, not just to obey, but the intent to guard or protect or preserve it. Okay, Kyle? So the melody part or the song or the singing part was important because what it did was it helped the process of meditation flow. Now, we have this interesting word here, which is Hig-Gayon. Hig-Gayon. Okay? You have your Hey, your Hidik, you have your Gemel with the Dagesh, you have your Kamet underneath, you have your Wav with a Hulam on top of it, and you have your final Nun. Hig-Gayon. Now I'm bringing this up because these are the 4 words that I found that's commonly used to translate into meditation. But if you just look at the word meditation, it doesn't really give you the depth of what the actual the denotation of the word actually is. You got to research it. But here we see something interesting. It says it's an intensive form because one of the features of the PL stem in Hebrew is what? The dagesh. It's normally in the second lateral root, which is the middle consonant. So you have this dagesh in there because what it does is it puts emphasis on the consonant and the pronunciation. It's also a stop before you finish the rest of a syllable stop before you finish the rest of the pronunciation. Hence where I would say hig, stop, gayon. But what it also does is it denotes intensive, such as the PL stem. It's a murmuring sound, i.e. a musical notation. Wait. Didn't we see a word that's the root of that? What's the root word of this? We just seen it earlier. Haggah. Interesting. Probably similar to the modern affectuoso to indicate solemnity of movement. That's to do with music, scores. By implication, a machination, a device, a higion, meditation, solemn sound. This is to give you the preface before we get into the definition. Meditation, resounding music, musing. A, resounding music. B, meditation, plotting. Interesting. Now, when we see here, we see a feature. We see a wav, a holam, and a final nun. In Hebrew, that's called a diminutive suffix. What's a diminutive suffix? Anybody? Okay. In Hebrew nouns that are derived from a base word, which is from Haggah, it is designed to convey endearment, small size, or small intensity. That means if there's a hig-gayon going along with the Haggah or si'ach, we have a situation where there's a smaller element that is playing alongside the larger element. Wow. I think y'all missed that. So why is Higayong more attributable to music? Because it's the ambience of the music that helps the words to flow. The music's portion is to play a background role or a smaller role. You ever seen an orchestra being orchestrated? And then you see the guy that's there, and he's like, oh, and you have this sound and that sound. Some instruments are not designed to take front stage. Some instruments play the background, but it helps with the overall score. So therefore, the reason why the Most High told Moshe, put it in the song, because now we do these statute laws and commandments in a summary to a melody, maybe they'll remember it. I'm trying everything with them before they get into the land. So with us today, meditation can also involve music. Now, you may also see this in people who go places where they do meditate. You have that low ambient music in the background when you meditate. That's good. But the difference between the passive way and the active way is the active way, you're saying something. Passive way, you ain't saying nothing. And there's a dichotomy that's there. So it's constructed, it tells you Higayong with the suffix wa, kolam, nun. And Psalm 29:15, Lamentation 3:62, the sound of the harp when struck. Have you ever heard the harp sound before? You know, David or Dawid, he played what instrument? Interesting. Psalm 92:4, with the sounding of the harp is a musical sound. Have anybody ever heard the harp before? Is it a loud, bass, heavy instrument?
No.
Very what?
Mellow.
Soothing, mellow.
Yeah.
Y'all getting it? It's a stringed instrument. Somebody said that, right? Okay. Similarly, it tells you it goes into the Vulgate, etc. A meditation, a device or a plot. That means you need an element to assist with giving you the smaller component in the overall score to help things to flow. This is why David, he's attributed to writing a large portion of Tehillim, of the Psalms, because he played the harp. And the reason why he had so much power is because while he was playing the harp, he would meditate. So that way spirits, when they land on people, they go away. Y'all missed that. Wait, so that's not what I was taught in Christianity. I was taught there's other ways to cast out demons and spirits. Are you telling me that I could take the same formula that he used and perform it today and get the same results? Yes, you can. It's all in how you perform it. You got to take the presuppositions away. Okay, Khan? Okay, all right. Making sure you're following me. Do we have scriptural references? Yeah, we almost done. Yes, but we're not going to get into everyone. I would love to if we had the time, but we can't. But what I want you to do as you're looking at these references is I want you to go back and reinterpret the text. Take out your presupposition, your preconceived notions that you had previously of what meditation is, which is the Taoist meditation form, and I want you to insert the new denotations of the words that we found and discovered in Hebrew and see what it does. It makes a huge impact in the entire context of the text. We have Bereshit 24:63, Yehoshua 1:8, Tehillim 4:4, Tehillim 19:14, Tehillim 49:3, Tehillim 63:6, Tehillim 76:6, Tehillim 77:12, Tehillim 104:34, Tehillim 119:15, Tehillim 119:27, Tehillim 119:48, Tehillim 119:78, Tehillim 119:97, Tehillim 119:99. Wait, slow down. So you see it used almost, 6 times in Psalm 119? That's Minister Carr's favorite song. He loves that song, right, Minister Carr? Where's he at? Is he here? Right? And he talks about meditation a lot. Ken Khan, all I'm doing is just giving you an additional complementary layer to help improve that process. The process doesn't change. We're just tweaking the components so it can be more efficient. In my line of work of being a solutions engineer, this is what we do. Current processes that may not have the most impact, we go back and tweak it so that way it can be as efficient as possible without changing the entire system. Ken Khan? Tehillim 119, 148. Tehillim 143 and 5. Tehillim 145 and 5. Isaiah 33 and 18. And Malachi 3:16. So what I wanted to do with this is just to go in for you and reinterpret each one, but we don't have the time to do that. You could do that on your own. But as we move forward, now we went through that process. Now, what was the 3-step process I told you earlier? The 3-step process. I told you earlier. 2, cultural reorientation. Awareness. No, re-education, and then application. So now I've made you aware, right? Telling you what Taoism is and the biblical definition. I re-educated you because now I'm telling you, okay, look, according to the lexical entries, this is what it means. And now we got to go to application. How do you apply it so I can walk it out? Can Khan? Do sweat the technique. You'll be like, what? What does that mean? You ever heard that song, Don't Sweat the Technique? How many of y'all hip-hop aficionados in here? Raise your hand. Don't Sweat the Technique. Who made that song? Eric B? Oh, I know you like old school music. That's good music. The what, why, when, and how. The what, why, when, and how. So now what's the application process? Yeah, all that stuff is deep. Yeah, great. That's good. But how do I apply it? How do I walk it out? Okay. Let me help you out with that. The what? I tried to sum it up in one sentence. Muse over your murmurs to melodies, and this right here is optional, at any moment. So if you have a situation that you need to get some power, take a moment to muse over your murmurs to melodies at any moment. The melodies of the music helps in the overall score. Because if you take certain instruments out, maybe dry on the high end, the low end, you need bass, treble, etc. If any of y'all like music or like me, I'm a stickler for a good sound. But if you muse over your murmurs to melodies at any moment, you have so much power to do so much stuff. You can, 1, do spiritual purification. It's deep. I'm gonna show you when we sum it up. Number 2, you can get rid of spirits. You don't have to burn sage unless you want to. That's on you. But there's a biblical prescription on how to remove spirits because Dawid did it. He did it. He did. When it was on Shaul, he played the harp and he meditated. Got rid of that spirit. That's deep. Okay. Exactly. So we saw what music means. Deep, reflective contemplation. But murmurs is when you say something under your breath. How many of y'all have a job in here? Because I know some of y'all are retired. How many of y'all are actively working? Raise your hand. How many times, if you have a boss, your boss says something to you to tell you to do something, you're like, hey, my job. And you start to say that under your breath because you ain't trying to lose your job. So you walk away and you're like, I ain't gonna do that. I gotta do ain't my job, man. Ain't so-and-so over there do something. You're murmuring. One of the definitions is to complain. You gotta let it out. Because imagine if you bottled all that up the whole day and never gave an orifice to expel that bad energy.
All right.
You'd go crazy, right?
That's right.
I know I do that a lot. But it's in a subdued way. Right? It's not in a way where it's going to alert anybody, but it's in a subdued way. And if you do it efficiently, as the day goes on, you're getting rid of all of that stuff that is coming into you that needs to go out. But you first have to speak it. And then muse over it. So now once you say, well, I got to do it, then you think about what you're saying. Like, you know what? I am at my job. I do want that promotion. So maybe this is a test. Y'all missed that. Let me say it again. So first you're complaining, I don't know what's going on right now. You click OK to that. I don't know what's going on right now. This shouldn't be happening. This is probably why this is acting crazy. But anyway. So you're saying to yourself, first you let it out under your breath in a subdued form, fashion. Sometimes you may even say it to a coworker very low, right? But once you get it out, then you muse or contemplate over what was just said to know what's getting in your leb, which is your heart, or your ruach, which is your spirit. Sometimes you need to have an opportunity to just, sometimes you may go listen to some music while you're trying to think about this thing. So some of y'all may do this already, don't even realize it. And then you may use another moment to do or continuously do it. So what I'm saying is the what is when you muse over your murmurs to melodies, which is optional at any moment. If you take this summary, you can do so much more because this was the biblical instruction and prescription from your ancestors. This is part of your ancestral culture. It's not the way that it's taught here in society. I've never heard anybody teach me this before. I never knew this until I researched this a couple years ago. Because I wanted to question all the customs that I was doing and say, is this biblically correct? And I realized that meditation that we do today is not biblically correct. Does that mean it's wrong, it's evil, it's bad? I'm not superstitious like that. I just say, listen, it's good for the culture it was created for. If you want to use it, that's on you. But if you're trying to impose or superimpose that custom from another religion, another philosophy, over onto the Bible and then do it thinking that you are doing what the Bible is saying but have not done the in-depth research, and then you may realize that you may not get the successive results that you're looking for. So we have to reorient ourselves back to the ancestral culture, and that way we can extract from it how to actually do things and get results. Try it out. See if it works. Okay. So I'm going to go over 9 scriptures. We're just going to read it real quick because I want to give you points of reference. I'm not going to read all of that whole list. But if you start to think about it, go back and look into the scripture. You say, oh, that's what that means. So if you ever go back to the book of Psalms, which I recommend for anybody, remember, this is what they were doing. Let me say it again. If you ever go back through the whole entire corpus of Tehillim or the Psalms, this is what they were doing. They were murmurs. All that stuff that was written were murmurs, complaints. Sometimes it wasn't even complaints. Sometimes it was celebratory. But it was something that was coming out in a low, subdued fashion that they then contemplated on. So when it came to the written form, they decided to take those murmurs, put it on paper, and then muse over it, and then put it into the form of a song so they can remember it, and it can also be remembered by others. But if you look at it like that, that's what they were doing. They were doing complaints. They was giving praise, but in a murmuring sound. So it could be mused over. And sometimes you'll see the whole process in several of the books of chapters of Psalms where they'll start off with a complaint and end with a praise. Let me say it again. They start off with a complaint and then end with a praise. Why? Complaints is okay if it's placed in a format where it's yielded to Yah, so that way as you're taking from what's in your heart out and you're pouring it before Him, you've emptied yourself. And now you're allowing Him to give you that contemplative mindset to actually review what you just spewed out. And then you say, you know what? That's not of Yah, that's of me. But I know Yah's great, Yah's awesome. Yes?
And that would explain why David would say, he would start off saying, my enemies, persecute me, but yet I keep the law statutes.
We're going to get into that. Yeah. But He keeps the law statutes. That means you're speaking, you're keeping it real, you're keeping it a buck, you're being unfiltered, you're letting it out. You could be in a good mood, bad mood, but if you take that prescription, you'll have a lot of power and you'll see that you'll have a lot of spiritual energy. You get recharged when you perform this. Now, my family sometimes may make fun of me because sometimes I take long showers, right? I'll be honest. Sometimes I take long showers. But the question is, what is he doing in here this whole time? Nothing explicit, all right? But I'm doing this when I'm in the shower. And when I come out, I can face the day or the night, depending on the situation. Sometimes you may have to take a moment to do this, to cleanse yourself, to purge yourself. Sometimes you just want to murmur how great Yah is. And then meditate on that. Why meditate? So we know what the what is, but why? What is the first one there? To remember the law. What psalm is that? Somebody grab that for me. Now I need a quick reader real quick. We're going to go over a few of these. To remember the law. Psalm 63:6. Anybody? All right. You got it? All right, read it.
When I remember you upon my bed.
Wait, when I remember you upon my bed. Okay, we don't get into that.
And meditate you in the watches of the night.
And meditate on you in the way, and murmur and muse over how awesome you are when I'm in my bed, or how great God is.
Yes.
So sometimes I don't want to end being angry, but I want to end with knowing the magnificent power and glorious awesome of how great God is. Your problems is not bigger than Him. But when you have them, it makes your problem small. The second one is what? To understand the law. I had to meditate on a biblical definition of meditation in order to get this. To understand it. So now the process of, you got knowledge, you got understanding, and you got wisdom. So knowledge is the reception of information and the recitation of that same information. Understanding is when the information is processed, so now you can interpret it, and wisdom is when you rightly apply it to your results. So once I remember Yah, the law comes to mind. When I remember him, some of us forget him each and every day. Sometimes you go days without even saying nothing to Yah. When I'm in the shower, I spend time with him. Even if that's the only moment I have, I do it. But when you remember him, then he won't forget you. And the last one is what? The keep from sin. Sometimes when a lot of us have fallen short, and I know I've fallen short several times, a lot of times because we do not meditate. So we have so much built up that sometimes we do the wrong thing. But when you go through meditation, it cleanses that. Somebody read Psalm 119.99 first. Okay, you got it?
Psalm 119.99.
Uh-huh.
I have more understanding than all my teachers.
I have more understanding than all my teachers.
For your witnesses are my study.
For your witnesses are my what?
Study.
Your witnesses are my study. You should have meditation in there.
Okay, so that testimonies are my meditation.
Your testimonies are my what?
Meditation.
And what's the word you used?
Study.
Study. So your testimonies are my meditation. All the things that God has done.
Yeah.
This is why you should always have a reserve tank. A lot of times you drive a car, you look on that meter, like, oh, shoot. But I'm going to have a situation where I'm going to be stuck in the middle of the road. But then the car designers decide we're going to create a reserve tank. Give you a few extra miles to get to that. So we have to create our reserve tank. What's your reserve tank? The memories of the greatness of what Yah has already done. So the times when you get on empty and you cannot see a way, you cannot even do anything, you feel handicapped, you feel at odds, you feel overwhelmed, you feel inundated. Just remember that reserve tank is there to get you to your next place. Y'all get that some other time. It'll come to you. Somebody give me Psalm 4:4.
The wicked are not so, but are like. Oh, that's one.
No, yeah.
Be angry and do not sin. Meditate within your heart.
Wait, be angry. So prescription is there. I think I heard Shaul say something like that too, right? Okay. Be angry and what? Do not break Torah. Why? What's the rest of it?
Meditate within your heart on your bed and be still.
Whoa. So when you're upset, here's a prescription. It says do what?
Meditate.
Meditate what? Doing what?
Within your heart.
Within your heart.
On your bed.
On your bed.
And be still.
And be still. Because when we're angry, that's bad. When you're angry, right? Because a lot of times when you're upset, you ain't still. You're pouting, you're angry. But when you learn to do this, I'm telling you, you'll make less mistakes. Yes. Because you can't go nowhere. You're right there. Awesome. That sounds good. Okay, we're getting there. When to meditate? At work.
That's right.
When you're working, when you're doing something. Genesis 24:63. We just read that, right? No, we didn't. Somebody read that. I told y'all about it. We didn't read it. Somebody get Genesis 24:63.
And Isaac went out to meditate.
Isaac went out to do what?
Meditate.
Uh-huh.
In the field.
To murmur and muse. Go ahead.
In the field.
In the field. In the what?
In the evening.
In the evening.
And he lifted his eyes.
Uh-huh.
And looked.
And looked.
And there, the camels were coming.
There you go. So now, he spent so much time meditating while he was working that he was gifted with a prize. Sometimes your next reward is just one meditation away.
Yes.
Will you be willing to commit to it?
Hallelujah.
Right before the darkness comes,
Yes.
that little inkling of light, put some meditation in. So when the darkness comes, you can be held over to the next day. Yo, somebody will get that. That's the message for somebody. Let's go to the next one. Throughout the day. Get your whole show of 1 and 8.
This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth.
This book of the law shall what?
Not depart
From where?
your mouth.
From your mouth.
Mouth. But you shall meditate.
You shall wait. You shall murmur it and then muse over it day and night. Wait, so that you may be what? Careful.
To do according
So sometimes we wonder why we can't keep these statutes, laws, and commandments. Keep going.
Careful to do according to all that.
Some of it, to do some of it. Part of it, a little bit. Okay.
That is written in it.
Uh-huh.
For then you will make your way.
Wait, for then you will what?
Make your way
Uh-huh.
prosperous.
Whoa, wait a second, slow down. So do you tell me the reason why I can't get into or unlock the cheat code to unlock Deuteronomy chapter 28 verses 1 to 15 is because I ain't what? I didn't say it. They did.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Praise Yah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And we went over this already in the bed. Well, why is in the bed one of the best times to meditate on Yah?
No distraction.
Well, some of y'all might. If you got kids, you could be distracted. But right before you go to sleep, if this word is on your lips, under your breath, in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit, as you go, as you come, as you rise, as you set, and in that setting instance, in those days, the pastoralists would be out in the field and would look at the stars when they're about to go to sleep, and then they would just meditate on Yah. If I think, all these problems are so big, they cannot compare to the wondrous works of Yah. If he can do that, and he's mindful of me, the text says, what art man that thou art mindful of him? Why? Because he's giving you a domain to have authority over. And when you start to lose that authority, he comes in and checks in. But the only way to access that presence is to go to meditation.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Speak to him, but do so with this prescription and see how great it works. Because it's not just for you getting it out towards him, it's for you to contemplate, to realize, man, that's not even a big deal. Okay.
Hallelujah.
How to meditate. So we looked at the first one, which is what? With the Psalm. Somebody get Psalm 77 and 6. Okay. I said, let me remember
My song in the night.
my song in the night.
Let me meditate.
Wait, let me muse over my murmurs where? In my lap, my heart.
Then my spirit.
Wait. Then, wait, hold on. So you got a prerequisite before you get to the last part. So you got to do that first. And what's the then?
My spirit made.
Wait. Then my spirit, keep going.
Made a diligent search.
Now, if you can't find, why can't I get deep in Yah? You try to read, research, and say, man, I just can't get deep enough.
Yeah, right.
What's the prerequisite? Read that again, the first part.
I said, let me remember
My song
in the night.
in the night.
Let me meditate.
And then meditate
In my heart.
in your heart. Then, slow down. That's it. Then. You want to be prosperous? You want your spirit to be able to make diligent searching? You got to do meditation.
Hallelujah.
With patience. Somebody get Psalm 119:78. With patience. So you got to do it with patience. With the song, sometimes it may work. Sometimes you got to do it with patience.
Y'all got it?
Anybody got it? Go ahead. You can keep going.
The insolent be put to shame.
Let what?
The insolent be put to shame.
Keep going.
Because they have wronged me with falsehood.
So wait. Let the insolent be with shame because they have wronged me with falsehood. But keep going.
As for me.
Wait. So all of this is happening to you. But what does the text say? Keep going. But as for me,
I will meditate.
wait, I will murmur and muse with Yah. Keep going.
On your precepts.
And then in those precepts, you understand who's in control.
Yes.
That's why the text says that when you see Yah dealing with your enemy, do not get happy or excited. But why would you get happy or excited when you know that's the eventual end for them when they go against Yah's own? Wow. With patience. Okay. With reverence. Somebody get Malachi 3:16. I believe it's 3:16. It might be 3:6.
Then those who fear Yah.
Wait, then those who revere give a high degree of respect. Keep going.
With one another.
You said what?
They
They spoke with one another.
Y'all paid attention.
Wait, hold on. Y'all paid attention? Remember, one of the definitions of the meditate is to also do it with what?
Others.
Somebody else. Keep going.
And then y'all paid attention and heard them.
Wait, then he paid attention and heard them. Keep going.
And a book of remembrance was written before him.
Uh-huh.
Of those who reverence Yah and esteem his name.
And that's 3:16? What supposed to have the word meditate in there? Yours says meditate? Can you read that again? No. I said, yeah.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, it says, then those who feared Yah
Uh-huh.
spoke to one another.
Uh-huh.
And Yah listened and heard them.
So wait, so if you want Yah to hear you, you can't just say this to anybody. If that person you're talking to don't have the same reverence and respect for Yah, he ain't gonna listen. Are you listening to this? This is prescriptions here. All right, keep going.
So a book of remembrance
So a book of remembrance
was written before him.
was, wait, so when you do these things, a book of remembrance is written before them, and what else?
For those who fear Yah
For those who fear Yah.
and who meditate.
And wait, and who what?
Meditate.
Who what?
Meditate
Keep going.
on his name.
So now we have people who know the fear part, but you doing meditation wrong, you ain't got the whole formula right.
Wow.
Is your name written in that book of remembrance then? If you're not following the proper prescription. That's like going to the doctor, telling the doctor, I got this sickness. He writes you some kind of drug to go take, and you come back and say, I'm still sick. Did you pick up your medication? Nah, doc. I prescribe what you do. Told you do A, B, and C. You didn't do it. So why you confounded? Why nothing is happening? Wow. It's for somebody. Let's end off with this. For those of you who follow the Brit Hadashah called the New Testament, it's the first portion any Israelite can follow. But some of us are what's called Messianic, and we follow Brit Hadashah. So WWJW, what is that? Y'all seen that before? Well, it's supposed to be WWJD. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. I got too W happy, right? So it should say WWJD. And I put those stuff in to be funny, right? WWJD. What does the Brit Hadashah say in regards to this? Because if we're going to validate anything that's said in the New Testament, it has to have some root in the Tanakh or Torah. Otherwise, I overlook it. That's just how I do. But let's see, does it say anything as it pertains to what we're saying to cap things off? Back to Yahoo 15, 18 to 20a. But the things that come out of the mouth come from the heart, and these things defile a man.
Yes.
For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, and slander. These are what defile a man. He goes on to say, not the washing of hands. But why is all of this important in context to a lot of other stuff that he taught? Because once these things come out of you, you have to do something with it or to it. Otherwise, it will be a consistent way of life. If this is all that's under your breath, there's a problem. If you complain all the time and there's no praise, there's a problem. Something's wrong. It's what's in the heart. So he said, what's in the heart, it got to come out the mouth. So when you murmur, you're taking what's in your heart out.
Okay.
I'm going to say it again. When you murmur, what is going in your heart is coming out. If you ever want to examine what's in your heart, just murmur every thought that's in your mind. And once you do that, muse over it. Say, man, I didn't know I felt like this, and I didn't know. That's what I do in the shower. I'll let it out. In a subdued manner, in a low voice, so that way, hopefully it's not audible. Sometimes maybe she hears it. But anyway, so that's not audible, but that way, it's a way that I can purge myself and face the rest of the day. Because this walk is not easy. But you're given all the tools that you need to do the job. Sometimes you may be digging in the wrong tool shed. You keep getting hammers, but sometimes you need a ruler. Keep digging and getting rulers, but sometimes you need a pickaxe. So it's getting a tool shed with each tool, so that way any job that comes before you, you can get it done. So a way to overcome this, by Yeshua Bar Yosef, and that's Yahoo 15, 18 to 20a, is in Philippians 4:8. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there's any virtue and if there's anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Wait a second. So you telling me if a lot of times when I meditate it's always complaints, how do I counter the complaint? By using this formula. There is something that is true. There is something that is noble. There is something that is just. There is something that is pure. These things are there. And if you go into Torah, you'll find that. So if you find yourself complaining too much when you murmur, don't have enough praise, you got to insert this into the formula and equation that you're currently using to get rid of that unknown variable and actually placing an integer there that can be solved. Okay, Khan? So the summary and conclusion, and I'm done, is simply this. Muse over your murmurs to melodies if you have to at any moment. And when you do this, you are following an ancestral cultural prescription that will reorient you back to Yah. Because society has given you a prescription that is not for you. Remember I talked about pharmacogenetics in the beginning? Yah has designed this prescription for you, to work for you. But if you're not taking it, you're not applying it, and you're wondering why you're not getting results, it's because sometimes we don't even know what it is that we have to do. So these type of discussions are important because the first Taoist meditation is passive. And then the biblical prescription is active. Passive versus active. Two different cultures. Why? Well, it goes into the same thing as form versus function. Okay. How many of y'all watch mixed martial arts in here? Raise your hand. Mixed martial arts? UFC fights and all of that? No? Okay. Or even boxing. Yo, do some of y'all watch boxing? What's the difference between shadow boxing and actual boxing? What's the difference? Whoa, watch this. Wait, say that again.
Real boxing, you're fighting an actual person.
You're fighting a real situation that can hit you back. And shadow boxing, ain't nobody laying a finger on you. When you look at Shaolin Kung Fu, how many of you know about Shaolin Kung Fu? It is mostly for form, for style. But when you watch it MMA, it's because you gotta fight somebody. Now I don't know how many of y'all in here has had some real spiritual enemies. Anybody in here has some real physical enemies. But a lot of times we feel that we are handicapped. Sometimes we feel that we cannot beat this foe or this enemy or this situation or the circumstance or this condition. Yeah, why can't I move this mountain? It is simply because you are not applying the proper tool to do the job. And all I'm doing is handing you that to add to your tool shed. So the next time you have that situation and meditation is prescription in order for you to get the job done, here's your answer. And with that, I say shalom.